Hey everyone, are you ready for a deep dive? We're tackling veterinary science this time. And let me tell you, these RoleCatcher resources really surprised me. I thought it was all about clinics and, fluffy animals, but this is showing me a whole new side.
It's definitely a field with more to it than meets the eye. It's fascinating how veterinary science goes beyond those typical images. And RoleCatcher does a great job at showing these less-known aspects. They've packed their guides with some serious insider info.
For sure. So for this deep dive, no more cute puppy cliches, okay?
Yeah.
Let's get real about what a veterinary scientist actually does and what it takes to make a career out of it. Are you up for it?
Absolutely, let's dive in.
Okay, awesome. Now, one of the first things that jumped out at me from these RoleCatcher guides was how they busted some myths about veterinary scientists. Like, I always picture them just working with animals in clinics. There's way more than that, right?
Oh, definitely. The Veterinary Scientist FAQs section, that was eye-opening. It showed me how diverse these roles really are. Less about cuddling puppies and more like, being a scientific detective, figuring out the mysteries of biology. And that goes for all species, even us.
Wait, really? So by studying animals, you could actually make discoveries that help humans, too. That's amazing. Tell me more about that.
It's all about understanding the fundamentals of how life works. Veterinary scientists use animal models to study biology across different species, and that gives us incredible insights into our own bodies.
Right, because we share a lot of the same biological stuff with animals. So it's like by studying them, we learn about ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
like using the animal kingdom to crack the code of life.
Exactly. And that's why veterinary scientists are making such a big impact on human medicine. Think about it. New treatments, new therapies, even prevention. It often starts with their research on animals. It's all connected.
Wow, that's incredible. Shows you how interconnected we all are. But it's not all lab work, is it? This RoleCatcher guide mentions something about veterinary scientists working with endangered species, too.
Oh, absolutely. Their expertise is crucial for conservation efforts all over the world. Studying endangered animals, their biology, behavior, health, that's how veterinary scientists can protect them.
So you could go from a lab to like the Amazon rainforest or the African savanna,
Yeah.
working with animals in the wild. That's amazing.
It is incredible. And it highlights something else about this career that people might not realize. Yeah, veterinary science is hands-on, very animal-centric, but you need strong people skills too. Communication is key.
You're right. The RoleCatcher guides really emphasize things like reading comprehension, critical thinking, active listening. You wouldn't think those are super important for a science-heavy career. What do you think about that?
They're essential. A veterinary scientist's work doesn't end in the lab or the field. They have to explain their findings to all sorts of people, colleagues, policymakers, even the general public, and that takes serious communication skills.
So it's not enough to just make the discovery, you have to translate it for everyone else. That's a whole other skill set.
Exactly. And it's something that the role catcher guides really emphasize. They even mention that veterinary scientists often have to communicate really complex information to people who aren't scientists themselves. That's a big part of the job.
It's like they need to be scientists, A&D storytellers, taking all that data and making it understandable and interesting for different audiences.
That's a great way to put it. And that ability to communicate well, it only becomes more important as you progress in your career. Speaking of which, I'm curious to learn more about the whole career path of a veterinary scientist. RoleCatcher had a section on the different career stages, right?
Yeah, they outline the typical education and how your career progresses. And trust me, it's not easy. Becoming a veterinary scientist means being serious about learning and growing professionally. But I bet you're wondering what that actually looks like in practice. Like, how do you go from being the newbie to leading groundbreaking research?
That's the question, isn't it? And the veterinary scientist career stages section breaks it down really well. Starting out, you're assisting senior scientists, analyzing data, maybe presenting at conferences, building that foundation.
So like an apprenticeship in the research world.
You got it. But as you gain experience, you get to design and lead your own research, find funding, even mentor new scientists.
Wow, so you go from being mentored to the mentor. The responsibility grows so much as you climb the ladder. And it's not just about technical skills, is it? I remember the guide saying that something like 70% of the skills needed are related to reading comprehension.
That's right. That just shows how important analytical and communication skills are throughout your whole career as a veterinary scientist.
It's like you're always learning and adapting, which makes sense because science is constantly evolving.
Exactly. And speaking of evolving, let's switch gears a bit and talk about those less obvious parts of being a veterinary scientist. I was really struck by the pros and cons section in the RoleCatcher guide. It really showed the emotional side of this career path.
I agree. We always hear about the exciting parts, the big discoveries, the animals. But this guy didn't shy away from the tough parts either. Working with animals, that's got to be emotionally challenging sometimes.
You're right. The guide talks about the emotional toll. Veterinary scientists deal with life or death situations, ethical dilemmas, and the pressure of finding solutions to really complex problems. It's a lot to handle.
I can only imagine. It seems like you need a unique combination of scientific knowledge, compassion, and resilience.
Exactly. And that's where all that emphasis on active learning in the RoleCatcher materials comes in. Remember that 63% statistic?
How could I forget? It really drilled home how important it is to be a lifelong learner in this field.
Hmm.
It's like you're always a student in a way, which can be exciting, but maybe a little overwhelming sometimes too, right?
Absolutely. But that's what keeps it dynamic and rewarding.
After hearing all of this, it's clear that RoleCatcher went above and beyond to really cover all aspects of becoming a veterinary scientist, the expected and the unexpected. They've really thought of everything.
I agree. From the career guidance and interview prep to those amazing AI-powered tools, it shows they're dedicated to giving people the knowledge and resources they need to succeed in this field.
They even have tools to make that dreaded job search a little bit easier, like the RoleCatcher.capture plugin.
Oh yeah, that plugin's a game changer.
Right. It's like having a personal assistant who's just focused on making your job search less painful.
Exactly. You can say goodbye to those messy spreadsheets and hello to a smooth, efficient job search.
So instead of scrolling through job boards forever, you can use the plugin to save jobs straight to your RoleCatcher account. And it works with sites like LinkedIn and Indeed.
It's all about working smarter, not harder, And that's something RoleCatcher gets.
It really does seem like RoleCatcher thought of everything to make becoming a veterinary scientist a little less intimidating.
For sure. And speaking of making things easier, what about those AI tools you mentioned? That CV resume builder, that one sounds really interesting.
Oh, tell me about it. I got a sneak peek while I was getting ready for a deep dive today, and wow, it's a game changer for sure.
From what I read, their AI actually tailors your resume to each job you apply for, which is amazing. Applying for jobs, it's like you're just hoping for the best sometimes.
Totally. You always wonder, did I use the right words? Is my formatting okay? Did I highlight the right skills? But with RoleCatcher's AI, you know you're putting your best foot forward every time.
Right. The guide even said this AI tailoring can really up your chances of getting shortlisted, which is huge in a competitive field like this one.
No kidding. It's like having a secret advantage. And while we're talking about standing out, we can't forget about the interview section on RoleCatcher.
Oh, yeah. That one was impressive. They have tons of practice interview questions, and not just general ones either. They're specific to different careers, including veterinary science.
That makes so much sense. Because let's be real, acing an interview for a science-heavy job like this, it's not just about being likable. You got to explain complex stuff clearly and under pressure, too.
It's the ultimate test, right? Your knowledge, your passion, your communication skills, all in one. Those practice questions could make all the difference.
Totally. It's like a mock interview with a career coach, but way less awkward.
For sure. You practice at your own speed, build your confidence.
Preparation is key. And speaking of preparation, this deep dive wouldn't be complete without talking about ethics.
Absolutely. This RoleCatcher guide, it does a good job focusing on the practical stuff, but it doesn't shy away from the ethical side of being a veterinary scientist either.
I was struck by how they talked about the responsibility that comes with working with animals in research. Trying to make discoveries, but also being ethical. That's going to be tricky.
It's a real balancing act, and I'm sure every veterinary scientist thinks about that throughout their career.
Makes you realize that this isn't just a career you can be good at with just smarts and a love for science. You need real empathy and a commitment to doing what's right.
Exactly. It's about respecting the animals and recognizing how important they are.
Well said. And RoleCatcher clearly understands how crucial those ethical considerations are.
Definitely. They made sure to bring those conversations to light in their resources. They want aspiring veterinary scientists to know that this is more than just a job. It's a real calling.
That's a great way to put it. It's about using what you know to make a difference for animals and for people.
Absolutely. And with everything RoleCatcher provides, I have no doubt that anyone who's passionate about this field will be ready for the challenges and the rewards.
It's really inspiring to see RoleCatcher taking such a well-rounded approach. They highlight the exciting parts of the career, but don't shy away from the ethical side either. It's more than just about getting a job. It's about empowering people to actually make a difference.
Exactly. And speaking of making a difference, what was the most surprising thing you learned from all the RoleCatcher resources you looked at? Anything really stand out to you?
Honestly, I think the whole idea of veterinary scientists being involved in both animal and the human health blew my mind a little. It's
Right.
like they have this incredible opportunity to unlock secrets that could benefit everyone.
That's a great way to put it. It really shows the wider impact veterinary science has. It's not just about treating individual animals, it's about global health, conservation, understanding life itself.
It's amazing. And what's crazy is I feel like our deep dive only scratched the surface of what there is to know about veterinary science.
There's always something new to learn. That's part of what makes it so fascinating. And for anyone who's ready to start exploring, RoleCatcher is an amazing place to start.
Totally. They break down those stereotypes. They have practical tools for building your career. It's like a one-stop shop for anyone who wants to be a veterinary scientist.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap things up here, I'd encourage everyone listening to check out the RoleCatcher resources we've been talking about. Go read those guides, try out the AI tools. Who knows? You might just discover a passion for veterinary science yourself.
Couldn't agree more. So, until next time, keep those brains working, keep learning, and keep diving deep.